Hello and welcome to the Press Start Podcast, Press Start Australia's weekly video game discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ewan, joined today by my fellow gamers and co-hosts, Brody.
Hello.
Shannon.
Hello.
James.
Hello.
James.
Howdy.
And Kieran.
Hello.
I thought I would just do that and see what sort of chaos it caused.
James B asserting his dominance.
We have James W here today joining us, of course, to share his preview, hands-on preview, I should add, of Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. We're going to get to that in a second, along with a potential unannounced game in the works at Insomniac and some of the characters coming to Mortal Kombat 1. James, that's a special topic just for you. But first, Kieran. You had a sneak peek of the upcoming Twisted Metal series. I think it's only days away, maybe even tomorrow.
The day after
the episode
tomorrow?
publishing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts on the show? I think you've been able to watch the first couple of episodes.
Yeah, I got to watch the first 3 episodes, and actually James W can probably speak to this a bit as well, because I know he's seen them.
Oh, sick.
I have seen them, yeah.
I mean, to put it bluntly, it's dumb as hell, but it's one of those, like, it's a literal car crash that you can't look away from, is my experience of it so far, at least. I just, like, I've almost immediately stopped caring about most of the characters, and at least like the B plots, at least like the more like human stuff it tries to introduce. But like the main cast is pretty compelling. It's silly, it's violent, it's got, like, I guess what you would look for in that sort of series. I'm not hanging out to see more of it, but I definitely will watch the rest of it just to see how it unfolds.
Yeah. All right, James W, I might rope you in then as well, seeing as you've seen it too. Kieran's described it as dumb, but is it dumb fun?
I mean, your mileage will vary. I think, I agree that, like, I don't particularly care about any of the characters. It is really dumb. Like, I kind of said in my, like, sort of early impressions, like, I don't know what to make of this thing, because it swings wildly between trying to do authentic drama, which is god awful, and then trying to do comedy, which is sometimes fine. So it just kind of, it's a strange show. It's very violent as well, which I guess makes sense, but
yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that's not too different from what my expectations were for the show going into it. Shannon, I wanted to ask you about Gran Turismo as well, seeing as there's a trailer out for that, but let me pick your brains on, have you seen the Gran Turismo trailer?
I think so. I saw one before one of the movies I saw in the last week. I don't know if it was that one, but I don't know. It doesn't look great to me. Like, nothing about it screams interesting.
Between these vehicular themed video game adaptations, then, which one would you prioritize over the other? Maybe just you're walking away from both of them at this point?
Go see Barbie again.
Yeah.
Twisted Metal, like, interests me because, like, there's characters I know about, where Gran Turismo, like, there is no main characters, and I'm not a car person. So, like, vroom vroom doesn't excite me on the track. So Twisted Metal excites me more, but I don't know if I'll watch either, to be honest. I'm more likely to watch Twisted Metal, I think.
Yeah, I think I would rather see Gran Turismo, but there's no way I'm racing out to the cinema to see it. We've injected so many car puns into all of this. This has been amazing. Mileage will vary.
Start your engine. Thank you. Etc.
Yeah, I don't know. The fact that Gran Turismo is, like, based on that true story, and it's got Dave Harbour in there, and what's the other guy? Orlando Bloom was in it, which I didn't realize until
it's
I
like
saw the
AAA
trailer.
blockbuster. Like, it, yeah.
Kind of wild. But that might
They're
still
not
be.
putting the brakes on that cast.
Okay, God, we need to stop. Yeah. Red light in this whole conversation.
This is running on empty.
Shut up.
All right, let's just get
Podcast
straight
can't be
into
topped from here. Just end it.
Thanks for coming.
James W., you have played Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, a hands-on preview, which I think differs from when Brody was able to see it earlier at not E3, Summer Game Fest. I'm eager to hear what you thought of the game, having gone hands-on. Obviously, it's hugely anticipated, but first, explain to us what you were able to play of the game.
Yeah, so I got about 6 hours in, which was like effectively the game's entire first act. You know, there was no
Sick.
obscured loading or anything like that. They just put you in from the very beginning and let me run through until the end of the first like major narrative beat.
Nice. And so, like, I guess in that period of the game that you're sort of experiencing, what sort of battles were you able to experience? Were you like coming up against some boss fights? Did you get a good kind of flavor of, I guess, the loop that you're going to go through in the game?
Yeah, so the idea here is that like Armored Core has always been mission structured, and they have stayed with that. Like you'd think, given the success of Elden Ring, I think a lot of people were expecting something a bit more freeform and open. But this is very much just menu based. Some of these missions run you like 5 minutes tops, like they're super easy. You just blast through, very mech power fantasy. And then other ones are taking on giant bosses at the end of like a 20-minute run in a relatively big but not huge like open zone. So mission to mission is going to vary quite a bit, and there's also individual training missions you can take on that unlock like new stuff for your mech as well. So you don't really sure what is going to come next, which you know is a great thing. Obviously, it kept the experience really fresh.
Okay, I can't say I have much experience with an Armored game or Armored Core games. I think I played one on the DS. Does that sound right? Was the one?
I'm not sure that sounds
sort of
right.
time, or was that just another mech game?
Pilot wings.
Clearly, I was not paying any attention to what was on the box cover back in the DS games. The game is pitched as a soft reboot, though. Assuming it pulls that off, like how does it appeal to both legacy Armored Core fans, but then also kind of attract newer fans that are maybe more familiar with the Souls-like FromSoftware games of late?
Yeah, like I guess the easiest way to describe that is that it still has very much the capital V vibes of an Armored Core game. Like if you are familiar with the entire series up until this point, you know, very like late stage capitalism, slight post-apocalyptic vibes going on. You know, all of that still very much exists within this game. It maintains that quite well. That mission structure is obviously back as well. And so like the moment to moment of this experience is still very much Armored Core for Armored Core fans. But, you know, I think they talked about this at not E3 as well. The idea that FromSoftware couldn't have gotten to where they've gotten to now without learning something from this experience of, you know, being exposed to a mass market the way they have through Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Elden Ring. And so you've got a game designer who's come over from Bloodborne and Sekiro into this. And that's very obvious in the way that they do, like, yeah, there's Estus Flask, essentially. There are little, like, portable bonfires that fly out to you where you can rebuild your mech during a mission and whatnot. It does seem... It's conscious of the fact that like a lot of people are going to be picking this up just because it is a FromSoft game. And so there is a fair bit of soft onboarding in the beginning. Like I have never put hands on an Armored Core before. I've just experienced it entirely through like Let's Plays and YouTube retrospectives. And I was able to pick this up within like 5 minutes. It's very easy to jump in for a new person while not, you know, sort of getting rid of anything that I think Armored Core fans want.
And I suppose the story as well, like you seem to call that out quite notably in your review, and it seemed to kind of capture your interest in it maybe more than you anticipated. Like again, as a newcomer to the franchise, was it like the kind of lore in the world, like it all sufficiently interested you and felt like you could jump straight in at 6?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like it's so strange that they stuck with like putting 6 in the title. This could have just been Armored Core 5 of Rubicon pretty easily because, you know, they have explicitly said we're just soft rebooting continuity sort of, I think a lot of times when they do these numbered sequels. Like Armored Core as a franchise is not opposed to just starting over with its stuff while still maintaining those numbered sequels. But the story of this game reminds me of like it's very FromSoft, you know, it's very esoteric. It's very, there's strange stuff going on with sort of the sci-fi magic-ish background of this world. The front lines is, you know, a revolutionary war between a massive cabal of corporations and a bunch of people who are just fighting for their home planet, which is like, the actual planet there. Like, yeah, it does a lot of things that I think FromSoft does very well, which is, you know, obscure the narrative, but dole it out in little, like, in between combat, like little notes and stuff that you can find. It feels very built for someone like me, who is both a fan of FromSoft and also mildly curious about Armored Core.
Yeah, the story tends to be delivered in a very different way, I suppose, in FromSoftware games. Then getting to go hands-on with it, playing through the combat and its systems, what mechanics did you enjoy the most? What stood out?
It's just really fast, I guess, like is the best way to describe it. Like it's very, very smooth. I think Armored Core has like a bit of a reputation amongst people for being like the reverse controller kind of grip. You know, the idea that like this thing is so impenetrable to actually control. And this just controls like a relatively well-playing third-person action game. You know, like your mech is equipped with this kind of infinite boost, which means you're just kind of jet skiing sort of all around the place. It's very smooth. It's very seamless. On top of that, you get up to 4 weapons to use at any given moment. It does cause for, I noted this in my preview, but like there's so much visual and audio stimulation going on at once. And that definitely takes a lot to sort of wrap your head around. But it just plays well. Everything feels very satisfying. Everything is quite meaty. The managing different cooldowns of guns and energy weapons and whatnot all just, it snaps into place. It's a lot to keep in mind when you're playing, but like by the time you're 2 hours into this, your fingers are just doing like 6 different things at once. And the game has subtly taught you all of that in a really nice way.
Did it feel punishing in the same way that FromSoftware games often can be?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's no real way around it. Like I think that some of the like 2 hours of the footage I had was on bosses, basically, just because I would get, steamwalled every time kind of thing. The very last boss of the preview was, I didn't beat it. I could not see that final cutscene. I got to hear about it, but I could not get past that final boss. And, I think coming off of Elden Ring, where you were able to just go in a different direction and maybe respec pretty easily, I think that is going to be slightly off-putting for some people because this game is... it can be quite punishing, but it also has those moments, like I was saying before, about those really big power fantasy moments, where you've got like all these little mechs on the run from you and like you intercept their comm chatter and they're talking about how big and strong you are basically as you're gunning them down. And so it does give you a good sense of feeling empowered in that mech and then immediately rips it away again in a very FromSoft way.
Yeah, I'm sure your answer to that question will like both delight and disappoint people in like equal measure.
Yeah.
I feel like people are continuously like, I mean, personally, I'm kind of similar. Like I'm always fascinated by what FromSoftware do, but really struggle with how it just disrespects your time here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of glad for the people that do love their brand the game, that it's not shying away from doing things.
Were they all like that? Were they all like really tough?
All the bosses?
Soulsy. No, like all Armored Core games. Like have they always been that, or have they just adapted it to be that?
No, they've always been that. FromSoft has always been, I mean, like across all of their games, except for a handful, they love esoteric, difficult design choices. They'll always make you do a little bit of extra work to get to the meat of what they're doing. This is just, it's baked into the franchise.
Brody, you saw some of the game at E3, as we mentioned, not E3 even. So you can tell I'm struggling with it today. Summer Game Fest. What has stood out to you about James's experience with the game?
Yeah, earlier when he was speaking, I got the sense that they might have made this one maybe a tad more accessible to people from, not coming with the background of the franchise. But at the end there, he sort of turned the corner and gave me the impression that it actually is going to be quite punishing.
And the fact that there's like a tutorial that you can't miss, presumably, is an improvement.
So, I mean, having watched the game, for 30 minutes or so, I definitely got the sense that they were doing things to try and make it, more manageable, like James mentioned, being able to respec your mech in between missions and stuff if you like hit a wall. But it sounds like if you really hit a wall, that's not necessarily going to help you too much. So to hear that it's still like super punishing, it like does turn me off a little bit. But similarly, I'm very interested in like the world building of FromSoft games. It's just I find them so inaccessible just due to time and skill ceiling of my own, really. So to hear that it's still punishing is a bit of a shame for me. But it's what the fans want, I suppose. So
to query you a little bit more about the mechanics and the game feel, I suppose, then James, like is there an emphasis in any way on like I'm coming at this, I suppose, only with the history of like Souls games like Bloodborne, Elden Ring. Like, is there any emphasis on like parrying and dodging and all of that, or is it a bit of a different approach?
Not really. So there is the idea of in Sekiro, you have the ability to like break away at an enemy's stamina, and eventually once you sort of broke through that initial bar, like you could deal massive damage, and that system very much exists here. I didn't notice it so much in the moment-to-moment gameplay. In bosses, it matters a huge amount. That sort of war of attrition that you can get into. But other than that, a lot of it is long-distance shooting. Basically, like you are also equipped with a melee that you can like speed boost in and get a few hits in. But a lot of the times, distance and mobility is your best friend, basically. So you're not going to be parrying necessarily.
Would it be fair then to like maybe to compare it to something like Resogun? Like that's your description over there kind of reminds me of having to just like evade walls of bullets. It was kind of like a test of your agility and your mobility more so than getting timing right on anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right. Okay. Suddenly I'm back in because I loved Resogun. Not Resogun. Returnal. Did I say Returnal? Yeah.
You said Resogun. Yeah.
Did I? I meant Returnal. Anyhow, same vibe. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I'd also say
I
like
only
with,
got through that when co-op was added, so maybe I need co-op added to Armored Core.
Well, I would love to have had co-op in this, but like, and same with like, I would have wanted an open world with this as well. But having played so much of it now, like the intensity you have to operate at for any given amount of time, it just wouldn't feel right to have another player zipping around, like doing those things with you. But you know, mid boss fight as well, like if you die, you can just completely rebuild your mech. So there was a really like tanky guy that I had to go up against, and partway through I realized my current build wasn't working for me, so I just jettisoned half my weaponry, boosted my speed up a bunch, and then just whipped around him the best I could. And so it does give you tools to adapt around the difficulty, but there is nowhere to go if you can't beat that wall, which I mean, it is intimidating.
Right. And is that like the mech customization? Is that pretty malleable? It's not reliant on any kind of unlocks or like reskilling or.
No, so it's not going to be like, you know, you have to have X amount of strength to wield something. The way the mechs seem to work is that like there is an energy core that you have to distribute across everything that you're using, as well as a weight meter to keep in mind, obviously, because the more shit you tack on, the slower you're going to be moving through this thing. But it seems fair. It's designed to be part of the core of the experience, you know. Forgive the shitty pun, but like it's built into this franchise because that customization, the ability to even, you know, I could change like the amount of like weathering damage the paint had on individual components of my mech. Like they want you to build something that's yours. And that stuff is very accessible.
All right, cool. Very cool. James B, to come your way. I'm not quite sure what history you have with Armored Core, but I know you dabbled with FromSoftware games more broadly. Where does Fires of Rubicon sit with you? Is it a day one purchase?
Before I talk, is my voice coming through?
It is, yes. We can hear you just fine.
Okay. Because I thought I had a chipmunk moment. Okay.
I'm disappointed we didn't.
Yeah, I've played most of them. I don't think I ever liked them enough to finish them. Same with Chrome Hounds, which is also similar back in the day. I don't even played that on 360 too. I guess like my question for James, if you played 6 hours of it, like is there still that aspect where like if you at the end of each mission you kind of had the like costs of operating your mech and shit were like deducted from like a currency system, and that always, even if you died, you would still have those costs taken from you, and that to me, like you just would get into these like you'd kind of like lose your way into a corner effectively. Like, is that still a thing here, or have they like kind of relaxed on that a bit?
They're definitely relaxed on that. So you will still have to like pay for your ammo and whatnot, and anything you've consumed during the mission. But if you die, you just get reset back to a standard point. There's no like continual mounting loss, which sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, I don't like, and that's my other question about this game, I guess, is like, obviously I feel like Armored Core, like a lot of people obviously probably thought this was going to be like Dark Souls or Elden Ring, because you can't really release a game like Armored Core today, charge $99 for it. I know you can, and they are obviously, but does it feel like, do you know what I mean? Like, does it feel like there was just a different type of game now in terms of like what kind of flies for a AAA game like this? Does this feel like there's enough, like, I guess, depth to it? Is it like kind of an indication of like length? Like, is there a lot to it, I guess? Because the combat to me has always been like, yes, it's been impenetrable in terms of controls and stuff. But like, is the actual combat loop interesting, or are you just shooting shit? Like, is that it?
I mean, like, I personally found it like very engaging. Like I said in the thing, but like I did forget to blink several times. Like I was that kind of invested in what was going on the screen, and like the management of all your different cooldowns and ammo and energy meters. I did find it had some depth to me, and then you add in the customization as well. And so I do think it's a good little package. And I take your point about releasing a product like Armored Core now, especially with where FromSoft is at, sort of its public image at the moment as well. Like Elden Ring is an epic cinematic fantasy, and Armored Core is like, I guess a good example is there's no like character models. It's all just story delivered through static corporate images and like voiceover.
Yeah.
Like it's very disconnected from cinematic storytelling as we understand it in AAA gaming. And I do think that is definitely going to rub some people the wrong way. But it doesn't seem to me like they've cut corners here. Like this isn't a budget like B team FromSoft experience. Like they do seem quite invested in what they've built here.
Nice.
Because like, yeah, FromSoft used to be, you know, I don't know if anyone's old enough to remember this, but a lot of FromSoft games were like budget and shit.
Yeah.
Like there was never like this, like I said, like you said, Elden Ring, something to that degree of like good production values and stuff. And even in the trailers of this Armored Core, you can see there is a lot more money and I guess just effort going into them. So like it is a bit. That's why like I guess I'm weary as to whether or not like six.
I feel like mech kind of like as a genre is kind of a niche thing, or maybe I've just like never been in the same circles. I don't know about that. With like.
Yeah,
I didn't go to school with any like Gundam fans or anything like that. But
apart from like Transformers,
like Zone
type,
okay, fair.
Gundam,
that's niche, I think.
I did research.
It's interesting to think
Mech
like
Assault Phantom War that I played on the DS. I was just googling like mech games on the DS, and then I recognized the cover. It all came flooding back.
Would you say, James, like the combat is more like 1v1 in terms of like one big mech versus another, or is it more about like almost like Dynasty Warriors-esque? Or is it a mix?
Definitely closer to 1v1 than Dynasty Warriors, but like mission to mission will vary. So there's a lot of times where you went up against just fodder cannon enemies, you know, that they weren't particularly anything. And there was a lot of instances where you'd have 1, 2, or 3 high-powered foes that you had to take on, and those fights could last up to 5 minutes just as they were. And there was more of those than just mindless shooting. And everything I fought, you know, there was one set of enemies that completely turned invisible and just ruined my day. So like it always found ways to keep individual combat engagements pretty fresh. Nice. And I mean, if you think like that's to your point, sorry, as well, like it's 6 hours for the first act, roughly, you know, obviously depending on skill, you're going to be able to get through this a lot faster. That's the same with any FromSoft game, though. Those games are quite short once you know what you're doing. But
so no difficulty levels either.
Yeah. I would imagine, I don't know, 30 odd hours if you suck at it like I did. So
mate, I'll stretch it out to 60 hours. Watch me. We'll go and check out James's full written preview of his time with Armored Core 6, and I'm sure in the not too distant future a full review too. But let's move on and talk about Insomniac and a potential third game they have in the works, an unannounced one. We of course know about Spider-Man 2 out soon and Wolverine as well, but if the comments of a relatively recent hire at Insomniac and project director Aaron Eberhardt are anything to go by, an unannounced project also exists. Shannon, I might come to you first on this one. What would you hope Insomniac are working on?
I'd always hope for another Ratchet and Clank, but I feel like I would like to see something different just because we've had one of those. Maybe something PlayStation.
A new IP, you mean?
I think so. I think even something PlayStation VR 2, like they made the Oculus VR game that escapes me at this point, the name of it. But it was really good. So I'd love to see them do something with that tech. Maybe a new IP. I'm just going to say Jack and Daxter as well. Like if Naughty Dog aren't going to do that, Insomniac, I guess, can have it. Yeah. Or just something smaller, like even like a Clank game. Like I'd love, like they used to do those little shorter experiences on PS3, like Quest for Booty and stuff. So I'd love to see more of those, just like weekend experiences for some of the franchises from PlayStation that aren't getting as much love these days. Ape Escape.
It might be a good opportunity for them to do something quite different, yeah. Kieran, do you think we could continue to get Ratchet and Clank games in the future? In the current like pantheon of PlayStation games, so does Ratchet and Clank continue to serve a purpose?
I think so. I think it taps an audience that still exists, and I was literally gonna, like, Shannon hit the nail on the head. Like I think something like a Quest for Booty / Miles Morales sized experience would work in that franchise, just to keep it going, just to keep it fresh in people's minds. So like I wouldn't be surprised if there is like a B or C team in Insomniac working on something like that. obviously I'd like to see it because I love that franchise, but I'd also like to see Sunset Overdrive make a comeback, because I feel like that's kind of fell flat when the Xbox One wasn't doing so well, and it'd be cool to see that come back.
Yeah, I feel like in like the kind of lineage of Insomniac games, like Sunset Overdrive is overlooked, but in many ways is kind of the precursor to the Spider-Man games that they put out. It's where like a lot of their traversal, I feel like, was like first experimented with, and just like a very stylish game as well. It'd be cool to see that come back. Brody, is there an Insomniac game you would like to see come back? We've kind of made mention of Resistance. Do you think, like, given the ongoing discussion around Xbox and maybe Call of Duty only having 10 years left on PlayStation, there's a need for them to kind of revisit some of their first-person shooter properties? Shooty.
I love that.
I think there is. I don't know that Resistance is going to be the answer to that necessarily.
I forgot about that. Please.
Yeah. I think am I completely conflating two stories, or did I hear that like this game could be like a multiplayer game, like that they were hiring up for multiplayer? Because obviously that would tie into the Sony strategy.
I also saw that. Too.
So I mean, it could be a multiplayer game, sort of. Which kind of, for me, would rule out a Sunset Overdrive game, which I would love, because, like, as everyone's alluded to, that's kind of the crown jewel of the Xbox One sort of generation that we had, aside from maybe Quantum Break. Resistance, it had multiplayer, but it didn't really scratch that itch or, hit the spot at all. So
it wasn't Fuse exclusively multiplayer? Wasn't that like a 4-player?
I don't even know what Fuse is. So
that says everything you need to know about it.
I don't think many people remember Fuse.
So, look... I don't know. You'll hear people saying, "Oh, they could do like a multiplayer Spider-Man game," but I don't know if that's necessarily what I want from Spider-Man with Insomniac. Yeah. Have there been Ratchet multiplayer games? Like, was
they're all
One
pretty
like
horrible.
a multiplayer thing?
Yeah. And Gladiator was like a cooperative sort of thing. Again.
I can't wait for the fruits of this PlayStation multiplayer strategy to bear, because I think we're in for some treats. But
I think it's going to be really rocky for a little while, if I'm honest.
Yeah, so look, of the selection of the back catalogue, I would like to see a new Sunset Overdrive, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. I'm curious. I'd still like Shannon's banged on about Resistance for so long. I think only way you can really play them nowadays is digging out.
He won't shut up about that Resistance.
He forgot about it today though. But yeah, I wouldn't mind replaying those or playing a new entry. It sounds like quite an interesting.
They've had I've honestly forgot about Resistance and Fuse. They've had a lot of games. Like, I know you just think of them as like Ratchet and PS1, but yeah, they have tried a lot over the years. Some that has worked and some that hasn't. So that's cool. Hopefully they go back to that.
And I think it's like quite interesting how both Insomniac and Naughty Dog kind of matured with the games that they put out. Like, they kind of went from their sort of 3D mascot platformer period to Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank kind of operating at the same time. And then you kind of got like Uncharted and Resistance. And I kind of played Uncharted but never dabbled in Resistance. So I don't know. Insomniac, just really cool developers. Eager to see what they do next, whatever this unannounced game may be. James B. I'm coming to you next, though, because you've complained in the past about my lack of care for Mortal Kombat characters in the past, and I wanted to right that wrong, seeing as at Comic-Con, NetherRealm revealed 6 fighters coming to its Combat Pack 1 DLC, including what I thought was pretty interesting, Omni-Man from Invincible, Homelander from The Boys, and Peacemaker from DC's world. How do you feel about the roster of characters coming to the game at this point?
Do you see how
I feel like?
Do you see how Ewan can only bring up Mortal Kombat when it's bringing in other franchises and stuff? He doesn't care.
That's what I was
otherwise,
like, yeah, cool.
These aren't
Thank
Mortal
you.
Kombat
Well, I just thought it
characters.
was funny because I literally felt like it was the day before. I was like, I just don't care about Mortal Kombat characters, and then I was like, oh,
And you
maybe
still
I
do.
do.
You care about Invincible characters.
J.K. Simmons is gonna voice Omni-Man. Like, all
That's
right,
cool. Sorry, James. Please give us the tea.
Yeah, no. This was obviously leaked the day that the game got revealed, and so like the surprise, I guess, wasn't there. Even if it didn't leak, I don't think I would be too excited. I've not got a lot of affinity for any of these franchises. I recognize why they do guest characters. Like, guest characters have historically sold better than any of their other DLC characters. So, of course, they're going to keep doing it. And obviously now, Warner Brothers, the way that they do things, they just want their shit everywhere, like, all the time. So, like, it makes sense. I don't know what you want.
How
I don't
the
care.
full roster
Like, I
now
wish-
like expanded to be? I mean,
the roster, yeah. So like, if like I also hate that they've revealed the paid DLC characters before what's actually in the game, but that's fine. Like that really shits me.
And
But
it feels like it's
overall,
coming
the
out
roster
like
is
dribs and drabs as well, like kind of very.
well, it always does. Like they never reveal the full roster on day one for any fighting game.
But is it this slow? Usually,
it's literally been the fastest it's ever been.
I'm not keeping up with these fighting games.
Well, maybe you should. No, because normally, like a game will like this is the first time like they've announced one that's got like 2 months to go. So we're getting like really steady drops every 2 weeks, which is really cool. And also helps a lot because obviously their games leak a lot, so everything is kind of coming out before it can leak properly. But yeah, like so far it's a really good roster. I think like I think everybody who's played a Mortal Kombat game at some point will recognize somebody in Mortal Kombat 1, because I think in the past they really focused on the first 3 games and bringing all those characters back. Whereas they're really pulling from like the PS2 era, which was like a terrible era, like for the game. Like it was the worst. It like bankrupted the company. But like those characters were still quite cool. So to actually bring those back and give them cool new stories, because I think that's the other thing. This is like a complete reboot in a lot of ways, and a lot of the stories have changed. So in a world of this is like one of the worlds that has like the richest lore, I would say, in any fighting game, which is why it does so well with movies, cartoons, everything else now too. It's a good announcement. I wish I could be excited for these guest characters though, but I really can't. But I mean, I think the way that NetherRealm treats the guest characters, fans of these things will definitely be happy.
Yeah.
Like they will put so much effort into like even just single punches looking like, say, frames from a comic book or something. Like they always do a really good job of paying good homage to those characters. So
yeah.
I'm excited for those people to see those things happen. And if it brings more people to Mortal Kombat, if that's even possible, given how big it is.
I feel like the last game
great,
had such good DLC characters with like Joker and RoboCop and Terminator and Rambo and whoever else there was.
MKX was like all the horror, like the famous horror
that's right.
movie characters. And then MK11 was really going for the late 70s, early 80s kind of action heroes like RoboCop, Rambo. They had Ash planned, but obviously that fell through, which is why Joker popped up. But yeah, like overall, I think they always do a really good job.
These kind of feel like
I'm keen to see
your list of edgy anti-heroes or like kind of villainous superheroes, I suppose. Like it's such an interesting mix, but I can see it appealing to a particular kind of fan base.
Yeah, well, people are going back now. There's another leak that got everything right so far from years ago, or a year ago or something. And the next, if that's true, Season Pass 2 will have Doomslayer in it. So from like Doom, which is like obviously a really good fit. Harley Quinn and this, I can't remember who the third one was. But yeah, like they do a really good job of bringing guest characters to life, even if I don't particularly like them or know of them. But yeah, I'm keen to see how it all shakes out.
All right, I have a rapid fire question for you all now. And Kieran, I might start with you on this.
No.
To celebrate the release of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, Xbox is giving away pizza-scented Xbox controllers. So I was eager to ask you, what scent would you like your game controller to have? If you could pick a smell, what would it be?
When I was going to Google this, I don't know what I thought I was going to Google to get an answer to this for you. But I typed in what scent, and the first thing that popped up was what scent attracts men, and apparently it's vanilla. I feel like that's like, I don't know what that's indicative of, but I don't like that. I think I would like the scent of like a really strong like Listerine, like mint, like not even like a joke answer, like genuinely I would be sniffing that all day.
Yeah. Brody, what about yourself?
Ornamental pear. Delicious.
God damn it.
Give me them cum trees.
I like it.
I love that we
I'll
all
take
only
4.
know what those trees are because of like we googled them coming out of packs. Like, what are these trees that
I just
smell
forced Brody to
like
stiff it,
cum?
really.
Yep. To build my tolerance up.
Shannon, I don't know how you're going to top that, but
Yeah, I
what
don't
would it
have a
be?
funny answer. I would just say Diet Coke because it's in front of me and I like it. I don't know what else to-
Does Diet
Does
Diet
Coke have a
Coke.
smell?
Well, I guess it does.
Vanilla
I guess a
Coke.
cola smell. Yeah,
A cola, yeah.
yeah, that makes
Vanilla
sense.
Coke to attract men.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Ape Escape.
I was going to jokingly say like Lynx Africa or something.
Oh god.
But if it was,
I was going to say Lynx
if it-
Africa. You can't take that from me. I'm the guest. That's not fair.
I was gonna say, like, I love the idea of like a natural wood controller. Like, it kind of wooden PCs have become like a trend at the moment. I kind of like the idea of having
Oak and rich
just, like, kind
mahogany.
of- yeah, like surrounding your gaming setup, like very cozy gamer vibes and like plant life and stuff, and like a wood controller would be cool. James W, you saying Lynx Africa then, or if you got did you have a
you
backup
have to now.
answer?
It's all I prepared.
You undercut him. You took the wind out of his sails.
What are
That's
the
it.
Lynx flavors are there that you could use?
None of the others
Now
matter.
the chocolate
That's-
The chocolate one is horrific.
Xbox.
I know.
Xbox.
Yeah.
Newsflash, they're all
I
fucking
don't know
shit.
if the word. I don't know
I mean,
if the
yeah.
word flavors.
Lynx is
the right
disgusting.
approach.
Dupe.
Yeah, dupe in the purple bottle.
Well, James B, you are probably the most expert person to know when it comes to scents and skincare and all that. So
I didn't know where that was going to
I'm sure
I was so
your
nervous.
answer is going to be the best answer. What is it?
No, I was gonna piggyback off Kieran and say leather-bound books and rich mahogany for
Yes.
anybody who has seen Anchorman. But do you know that they really need to do a like $700 Tom Ford controller
There we go.
scented with
Decadent.
oud? I would be down for
I
that.
reckon they would sell a boatload of those. I reckon that's the kind of thing
To me,
Xbox
yes.
controller aficionados would get around.
They could do this though. They should do something like this for like a 4D experience with games.
What, like have
Like,
some
remember
sort of
when,
emitter from it to like...
Yeah, I don't know how. Like the Rumble Pack for the 64, but like it sprays and scents at
Spritzes
you.
Yeah,
Chuck a
in the
you get
face.
you get like a game and a cartridge with the game, and that's loaded with the scents for the game, and then the game
I guess
spits them at you like a skunk every time something happens.
I guess that'd be
Like-
interesting, like playing Call of Duty when you get like gas banged or something. You could just
There was
Actually
do you
disorientate you.
guys remember they did VR candles for the PS4? They did one for Fallout and one for Resi 7.
no.
I do
Yeah,
now.
remember that?
Yeah, there
The
was
idea-
also there was that South Park VR demo thing that like
Oh,
made
yeah,
you
that
smell
was a
something
bad
like
time.
farts or
So
something.
you could like light this candle and it smelled like the swamp, so that when you're actually playing RE7,
I'll just
you
smell
feel
my
like you're
bedroom.
in the swamp. Yeah. So I just want to evolve that kind of concept, you know?
Look, I'll be
Let's do
honest,
it.
when I put this in there as the rapid fire question today, I really didn't know what sort of reaction I was going to get, but this was great. Thank you. Let's play What the Wiki now, the Press Start podcast game show where the previous week's winner reads part of a Wikipedia page for an unknown game, and the contestants must guess the game. Had to look at my script. I fell off course. A point is awarded for each correct guess, and the round ends after one person scores 2 points. Last week, that was Shannon, who made some moves, coming up to third place. He's tied with me on 16. James just ahead with 18 points, and Brody still in first place on 20. Kieran, you're on fourth on 15 points, and James W, nil point, yet to enter the scoring. Hopefully he guesses a game today. Granted, you've had very few appearances, so it's forgiven. But Shannon, as last week's winner, you are today's host. When you're ready, take it away.
It's going to be an interesting one. It always is.
Do you have a list of 7 games in case we go?
No, I've
or
got
6
4 games, so
Okay.
someone
Oh, no.
act fast. The game is a 1996 point-and-click adventure game and the first in the series, co-written and directed by Charles Cecil and developed by Revolution Software.
Revolution Software.
Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. Revolution Software. The player assumes the role of George
Brody.
Stubbett, an American. Yes, Broadzilla.
Broken Sword.
Damn it.
Do you have any more?
I don't know the subtitle.
Does anyone feel like they're going to know the subtitle, or
I think
can Brody?
Kieran said, "Damn it, I reckon he might know."
Does it have mirror in it? I'm not gonna. Nah.
No, there's two technically, which I'll accept either. There's a US and a UK.
Oh. I'm tempted to just have a stab in the dark.
Go for it.
No, I'm not. I'm tempted.
Okay, Brody's getting the point.
I think
it's
that's
Broken Sword, The Shadow of the Templars, or Circle of Blood. So well done, Brody. That's
Sound
job.
like Castlevania games.
by you.
Generous point.
Very.
No one was
Controversial
going to
even.
get it. I could have read 17 paragraphs and it wouldn't have
Shannon's like, whatever I have to do to read less.
get off this. Exactly. The game is a 2007 platform game for the PlayStation Portable and PS2.
Ewan.
Brody.
Ooh.
Ewan.
Ewan.
You. No, I've already said my name.
Correct.
Yes, it's Ewan.
Is this Jack and Daxter, The Lost Frontier? Shit, fuck. All right. Sorry, Brody.
Can I go?
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
Is it just Daxter?
No.
Ooh.
Kieran.
Ewan. No, I can't go.
I don't have to read anything. Yes.
You are
Kieran.
out.
I'm just
Ewan.
gonna keep this train going. Is it Secret Agent Clank?
It's not. It was going to be that. And then I changed it to
Well,
something
that's,
else.
I should get the point for that then.
Okay, Braden.
It's the first title of the series on the PlayStation Portable. Development company High Impact Games was spawned from the original series developer Insomniac. It follows a duo as they're interrupted from their vacation to search for a kidnapped girl and encounter a forgotten race known as the Technomites. That's the end of the paragraph. As with Going Commando in the first game,
Ewan.
Yes, Ewan.
Oh, wait, no, fuck. Sorry.
I'd forgotten this existed too, but I really had my hedge bets on you, Ewan. It was my Ewan game in the lineup.
I'm Ratchet and Clank All for One. Is it? Did that come to both?
No, it didn't. No, that was. Space combat is present, however, this time the player controls. I'm just going to say it at this point, Giant Clank rather than a ship. Also, there are arena battles, but this time the player plays as Clank in a variety of vehicles. Clank obviously returns as a playable character and is again able to control a set of gadgebots, smaller robots which can perform certain tasks for him.
The fact that this came to both the PSP and the PS2.
Can I, Kieran? Is it
James.
Oh, no, you go,
Yes.
James. I've already had a guess.
Is it Ratchet Gladiator?
It's not.
Is
There's
it-
a lot of Ratchet
Is
and
it?
Clank.
Is it
There
Deadlocked?
is, yeah.
It's not Deadlocked.
Damn it.
I'm going to read this bit
Oh, wait,
again.
no, wait.
Everybody,
Deadlock the Gladiator the same game. Isn't that just
everybody
the-
be listening. However, this time the player controls Giant Clank rather than a ship.
Isn't a game called Ratchet and Clank Giant Clank?
Of all the games, this was the one that I was confident in. So good luck.
You're going to have to give us more of a hint.
I don't know what else to say. There's nothing.
What does it
else.
rhyme with?
Ratchet and Clank, big old clank.
Oh,
Big
no,
old
I know it.
bitties.
I know it. It's Size Matters.
Oh, please.
Yes, it is Size Matters. Well done. Thank
you.
I have no recollection of that game whatsoever. So
No.
one to go
Now
back
that
to.
you mention it now, though.
Sorry to yell, but
Wow.
it had to happen eventually.
Yeah.
It must have been before. It was Secret Agent Clank Vita. Anyway, I can't remember.
I don't know.
Next game.
I should have just been trying to think as much innuendo as I could.
Right.
Well done, Kieran.
Oh, which one?
Brody and Kieran with the points so far.
The game is a motorcycle racing game by EA in which the player participates in violent, illegal street races.
Brody. Nah. Road Rash.
It is Road Rash.
Damn it.
Well done, Brody.
Oh, that was amazing.
Good job.
I'll take it.
Is that it? That's it. That's the end.
Well done, Brody. So yeah, definitely extended the lead there, Brody. Out to 4 points now. That's
Not bad, hey?
That's quite an achievement.
Double points, I feel.
Hence
We got 5 months to go.
And Kieran has tied with myself and Shannon in third place then on 16 points. So
James W. still
spicy.
on nil
Oh, disappointment.
I would just like to say I'm a master of consistency. You know, I know my place. I don't know anything about the games you guys enjoy. It's good. You know, I get it now.
No one enjoys Road Rash.
I reckon we all need to go back and play Ratchet and Clank Size Matters after this as well.
No.
Maybe. No, okay, fair
I'm good.
enough.
Hopefully it's a remake.
With that, let's bring an end to what was this week's episode of the Press Start podcast. Subscribe to us on on Listener or the podcast service of your choice. Follow us at press.au and the site at pressstart.com.au. We've been joined today by Shannon.
Yes, you can follow me at Shannon Grixty everywhere. On
Kieran?
X.
Oh God, yeah. On
Zate
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Shit's no, be along. It's flying shit off my shelf.
Zeet.
Yeah, literally.
Kieran, where can we find you?
Yep. HASH_BRAUN. Don't zeet me, please.
Don't seat.
Also joining us today was Brody.
Thank you. You can follow me on most things at Brody_DG.
James W. with his preview of Armored Core 6.
OMG, more James anywhere.
And last but not least, James B.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it at Jams. ATJAMZ.
I love that you could like listen back to the kind of podcast episodes for like the last 6 months and just track the demise of Twitter.
Steady decline.
I've been your host, Ewan Roxburgh. You can follow me on, I'm going to call it Twitter, at Ewan_Roxburgh. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, happy gaming.
Bye.
Bye.